All right, all right, all right.
Yo,
What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing?
Evening, gentlemen.
not doing
Evening.
too bad, all things considered.
All things
Almost
considered, we are
Christmas.
still here. No nukes dropped on
Correct.
the U.S. yet, but we might be getting there. I am your co-host, Conservative Brother Daily. Welcome back to another episode 37 of Uncomfy Truths. I'm joined by my esteemed co-host, Conspiracy Brother.
Hey,
Hey, how you doing, good sir?
it's almost Christmas, so that's
It's
nice.
Christmas. Yeah, and it's feeling like Christmas with this cold weather. We got that Detroit, Michigan cold weather coming through. Um, and we're joined by our newest co-host, who's going to be coming and giving us regular commentary, on the show as much as he can, as much as the schedule allows. Pastor William Green, how you doing this evening?
Good. Glad to be part of the team.
I wish I had one of those. I gotta maybe that's something for the new year. Maybe I figure out how to get a soundboard so we can have a round of applause. That would be nice to have right in. But imagine everybody listening. Imagine we had a round of applause.
Exactly. We're gonna get there sooner or later. It's a grassroots movement we're building. So appreciate it. Those guys, regular listeners. Pastor William Green was one of our panelists on the infamous Kamala, not for Harris, Kamala Town Hall series we did earlier this fall. So now he's with us full time, giving us more, more of his commentary on the different day-to-day events as we continue this show, bi-weekly. So let's go ahead and hop into it. I know we got a lot of topics, and I know Conspiracy Brother, you got a hard out around 8:30, so I definitely want to respect your time. And I want to call this guys a lightning round episode, but we do got a lot of topics. We had a lot happen in the past 2 weeks, more than I ever expected. I don't think we've had a topic list this long, to be honest with you. So let's just kind of knock it out one by one, and I'll be there. And if I need, and also too, if you guys see me kind of going off the reservation where I'm talking one topic, then I start going off into, all this other stuff, just kind of reel me back in, and vice versa, because we're going to try and get through these topics. Yeah, so go ahead, Conspiracy Brother, whenever you're ready, you can share my screen. Let's get right into it. Once again, guys.
I'm not showing the screen share, so you might have to resend it.
Oh shoot, hold on. Okay, I think we're good now. All right, just started screen sharing. And also too, one more thing too, really quick. real quick. All right, so Uncomfy Truths, follow us on Rumble and YouTube. Feel free to like, share, subscribe. Definitely, show us some love. We got more content coming soon. But Pastor Green, I was seeing it really quick. If you can kind of just give us a little opening prayer. We need it more than ever in these days. And
Absolutely,
despite
absolutely,
anyone's religion, feel free to give us a little opening prayer as we start off.
absolutely. Dear Lord, we just thank you, Lord, for bringing us together again. Father God, I just pray, Lord, that you will be in our conversation and that, Lord, you will enlighten our minds as to what we should say and how we ought to think in these coming days. And I just pray, Lord, that you will just bless us, bless our president, President Donald Trump. And Lord, let us work with this man to make America great again. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, let's get right into it. First topic: Jordan Neely, Daniel Penny trial. He was found not guilty. This actually broke just I think last week or week and a half ago. So definitely a lot of polarizing feelings, people feeling one way or the other. There was one case where I think there was one count that got dropped a few days before, and then they came back a few days later, and then they ended up, acquitting him of being criminally negligent. Those guys need a refresher. Jordan Neely, who was a homeless and mentally ill man who came on a subway, started shouting erratically, making threats, around the train, saying he's going to kill. He doesn't care. He goes back to jail. He's going to kill whoever's on the train. Obviously, it ended how we wanted to end. He had to put a chokehold just to subdue him down. There were like two, three other passengers, black, Latino, that kind of stepped in, helped him, diffuse, Mr. Neely. And then when the first responders came in, he was still alive technically, and the first responders didn't give him mouth to mouth CPR. They didn't give him chest compression. They just claimed they didn't want to get AIDS. They were that's literally like words from their mouth. That they were like, oh, we don't want to catch anything, and they refused to give Mr. Neely mouth to mouth. So that's part of what they're not talking about in the news. So uh, I just wanted to give some of that context, but I'd like to have everybody kind of go around, just give their quick thoughts on this acquittal. No, I wish this wasn't something that happened as far as Mr. Neely's passing. This is what nobody wanted. And at the same time, I think there was a lot of forces that looked at this to get as political as they can with it and see, oh, Daniel Penny's white, Jordan Neely's black, and let's just racialize, make it like the new George Floyd. And once again, I see a lot of cases where sometimes it would be valid, but this wasn't one of those things where it seemed a lot more politically motivated. And once again, it's unfortunate Mr. Neely lost his life, but at the same time, I think what they kind of did with this trial and putting them through the ringer and leaving out all these facts and just trying to make it into like a George Floyd situation. I think him being found not guilty. I think this is what it was. It technically should have led to. But conspiracy brother, let you go first, and then Pastor Green.
Okay, well, it's I I looked into this a little bit when it first happened. I didn't look at it extensively because um, you know, to some degree, I think a lot of this is at this point being used to try to create some higher level of social unrest more than it is being used as a springboard to enact some type of legitimate social or legal changes in this country. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just intent on stoking the fires of
Mm-hmm.
um, of like social and civil unrest, but not in a constructive way where you'd hope that there's a positive outcome. So some of that I just I stay away from it. I stayed away from it, but one of the things that I think is important to understand, and um, this is the kind of interesting thing, when you look at, because of the nature of the show and stuff, like George Soros, for example, and or any of the prevailing, I would say, Democrat or liberal policy points about cashless bail and things like that, right?
Right.
Because in general, cashless bail can be a good thing, depending on the circumstances, depending on the nature of the crime that the person is accused of, or the evidence, or whatever. But what we have seen happen in places like New York and San Francisco, I think even Chicago, but I could be wrong about that, but certainly other places, is you saw where people were being let go for, violent actions, right?
Yep.
Assaults, multiple assaults, assaults against certain ethnic groups, or just various members of society were being targeted by these individuals. I think one guy in New York, he ended up having like 40 something arrests or something, and he still got out again. He beat up an old lady, like his last most recent event, or he punched an old man and the man fell and died or something. And so, like the reason I bring up the Soros thing is because, we've talked about it on the show where there's a rightward shift in this country. And we've talked about what that means. And when I say the rightward shift, I mean, you think about when you go to the airport and, you're getting ready to get on a plane and you got to go through a body scanner with whatever radio waves or whatever they try to tell you. And you have to do this physical pat down from a TSA agent. You have to take off your shoes. You can't bring in water. You know what I'm saying? And that's not how the airport used to be. I remember taking my sister to the airport in the 90s when she was going on a senior trip, and like the whole family could just walk to the gate. You know what I mean? You just like if a person was at a bus terminal,
Yep.
everybody could just walk to the gate and see their family member off. And so what we find when I say right wing, I mean legitimate rightward shift, not just the ideology that you see Democrats calling people who support free speech or who support individual rights or things like that. But I'm talking about authoritarian, the Patriot Act, pro-war, anti-worker, pro-surveillance state, carceral, hyper-police state, those types of things. You see an increase in that because after you elect politicians like Alvin Bragg or like Breedlove and the mayor of San Francisco, who are lenient on crime, and you see an elevated rate of crime, the natural inclination of people who live in the world, right, who are subject to these crimes and these criminals, is to vote for more extreme measures, right? And so this is kind of how you waffle between one extreme to the other. One extreme being, completely almost lawlessness, where like you see in Colorado with the migrant gangs or the legal immigrant gangs, and you have ABC News, Martha Raddatz trying to make excuses to J.D. Vance saying, hey, well, the mayor of Aurora said it wasn't that bad. And he says, well, how many gangs or how many apartment buildings or how many whatever does it take for it to be a problem in America, right? And so you drift from that to it being, extreme surveillance, violation of your constitutional rights. Like I said, with the Patriot Act is just the most, but like Edward Snowden talked about this, we saw how Julian Assange exposed all these. So I don't want to be too long-winded. I know, you kind of prefaced this whole show today with the need to kind of be rapid if we can. But I think, that's really the overarching problem that I see, right? It's unfortunate that this individual lost his life, but when you see these people can be used as pawns to sway public opinion one way or the other, when I say these people, you look at the mentally ill, right? They used to have a place for these people years ago in this country, where people who had severe mental illnesses were kind of sequestered away from the rest of everybody in facilities with trained medical staff who, dealt with them on a day-to-day basis. And so we no longer have that. And so it's also that combination of things too, where we want to have a safer community and society. And simultaneous, the government or the people who make the decisions don't want to do the things to fund facilities that would keep these people safely away from everybody else. And so, what we really need to do is kind of look at the core issues that create the situations, or that create the prerequisites for these situations, these encounters to exist, right? Where you have the police who feel either they're afraid to interact or they're overworked. And you have a medical staff who is afraid to interact because of disease or some other problems, or, whatever. You have an individual who has been in and out of mental facilities and prison or whatever because of mental issues, and he doesn't have his medication, and so he's not in a position where he can think clearly, and he's not doing things that would be conducive to life in a civilization. I'll put it that way, right? So it's a lot of things that we need to really try to improve upon, but the elites like this confusion because that gives them the opportunity to concentrate more and more power into their hands. The same way you saw during COVID when, they made sure, hey, you can't leave your house without this. You can't go inside of here. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's an opportunity. And that's another example of right-wing, control. And that's why I said it's not the buzzword political, whole Trump's right-wing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about legitimate, traditional right-wing policy of control and limiting a person's mobility and all this other stuff. And so this is the fear that I have, that I think even mainstream Republicans today, MAGA Republicans, are fighting against this. But it's pervasive, and we kind of all have to be diligent and all have to push back on it. But I'll stop because I know I've talked a lot.
No, great perspective, great breakdown, conspiracy brother. Look how you really took the meat off the bone, if you will, with breaking that down, and then the effect of these far left soft on crime policies. Now, Pastor William Green, I believe you're a native New Yorker. You've been around through COVID. I think you're out in Pennsylvania now, but at the same time, you've been in the city. You're a New Yorker. You've seen it. Even like with the whole militarized police force they now have in the subway system, thanks to these soft on crime policies that created the very crime that they now need to insert more military presence on. So, Pastor William Green, what's your thoughts on, or Pastor Green, what's your thoughts on this unfortunate, this Jordan Neely's unfortunate demise, but then Daniel Penny's trial verdict?
Well, I think I bring a unique perspective to this whole thing because when I was living in New York and working in New York, I was an employee of the New York City Department of Correction. I was a correction officer. So I tell you, when I was working Rikers Island, I would have a Jordan Neely situation every week of my career. Okay, every week. And matter of fact, there were 2 occasions when I was on the A train in New York City where I actually had to take people off the train when they acted like Jordan Neely. What I would do, I would just restrain them, and then when the train starts, just throw them on the platform and dare them to get back on the train. They would just go away. But this is what you had. And, being in a law enforcement career, one of the things I can understand with Mr. Penny was anyone that's trained and took an oath to protect life, when you see life being threatened, when you see things out of order, you're going to respond. Every time I had to deal with something like that, I felt obligated to do so. You follow what I'm saying? Because, if I have a badge in my pocket and a gun on my side and I see trouble, I'm going to have to do something. Now, if I had to get physical with someone, which I did on numerous occasions, like I said, on the subway and on my job, it comes with the territory. It comes in the territory with which you live. New York City has always been, in a sense, a chaotic place to live. And the subway has always been just a place of confusion where you don't know what's going to happen. But
Mm,
when you see something, you have to do something. And see, I thank God for people like Daniel Penny, but it also can send a wrong message where, well, okay, this is why people just don't get involved when they see something happening because they don't want to be held accountable if something goes wrong. I mean, yes, okay, Jordan Neely is dead, but it wasn't by Daniel Penny's hand. He didn't intentionally try to kill the person. But in these days we have all this gaslighting and all this race hustle. This is this
mm-hmm,
is what this is what the problem is, and I think really what brought justice in the Daniel Penny trial was that press conference that those two members of Black Lives Matter had. I think they helped them because they were just
mm,
so out of order. They really were, and I know that jury heard that. You see, because
mm-hmm.
listen, Jordan Neely should never have been on the street in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay, the man's been arrested 42 times. 42. Think about that. And because of these liberal lunatics who took away cash bails or who let criminals experience turnstile justice, you get arrested, you're back out in the street in a matter of 6 hours. This is crazy. And if anything, this whole situation with Daniel Penny, this should just show people why you should not turn a blind eye to crime and criminals. So justice was served with this decision because Neely should never have been on the streets to begin with. And you know what really gets me and what angered me, even his father now looking for a check.
Oh yeah, the absent father who's
You know,
never around.
you wasn't there. Your kid is homeless in the street, terrorizing people. Where were you?
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, you want to reap the benefits of your son dying inadvertently and not intentionally. I mean, it's just no accountability, and it's a shame how some black people act. I mean, Black Lives Matter should just be ignored. There's no respect to it. You know, if Jordan Neely want to get a payday, then ask Black Lives Matter to give him part of the 90 million that they fleeced the nation out of.
Right. Where's all that? We
Yeah,
still.
where's all that? They put that on mansions and all this kind
Yeah.
of. I mean, Black Lives Matter is just a joke. It really is.
Yeah.
And this whole situation with Jordan Neely, this is why these Democrats have to be voted out of office because they institute chaos.
All right. Well, you put it pretty much. I don't think anyone could have said it any better. So more on the Jordan Neely trial, or well, once again, it's pretty much over now, but we'll see what happens. All right. So moving forward, I know we got a lot of topics to cover. The drones. We gotta get to the drones, y'all. So who could guess? If you thought the Chinese spy balloons were bad, oh man. So we got these drone sightings started in New Jersey last week or a week and a half ago. They've been spotted over, I think, about 10, 15 states by now, including flying over military bases. Some of them are the size of cars. And then you're getting all these different things. You're getting different government. We're not really sure what it is. We know it's not a foreign. We know it's not a foreign enemy, but we really don't know who it came from. And even Trump in his first press conference, first post-election press conference, I think he kind of knows what's going on, and maybe for whatever reason he got briefed, and he's saying Biden knows what it is, the government knows what it is, but I don't know what to quite make of this. A lot of people got their theories, so I'd like to go ahead and throw it to Conspiracy Brother first and kind of give us your thoughts on this. Is it foreign? Is it our own? Are we about to get a hit of Project Beam, Project Blue Beam, or what? Conspiracy Brother, take it away.
Well, so you know how I feel about this all being orchestrated. And this, I mean, like you said, and it's a great point. Um, we know it's not foreign because they would have shot it down. Right.
That part.
They have no problem. Even if it's American citizens, they have no problem putting their weapons out on us at any time. And I'm talking about the federal government. So this is the thing, and I'm like I talked about it, so it kind of is a good segue. These things set the precursor for the federal government to take more liberal control, whether that means, in that area, the FAA's put a ground stop on drones with the threat of they'll either destroy your drone, they'll revoke your license, or I think you can be looking at a fine or jail time. Right. And so because you're in a situation where, either the government has a foreign entity flying in our airspace and they're giving it enough grace and enough allowance for it to just operate in our skies unhindered, or they know about what's going on and they're using this for their own means. And so it's the same thing I've said. It's the same thing I've said before about aliens. When you look at the increase in alien sightings or the willingness of the government to acknowledge it, I don't necessarily. The universe is too vast for me to believe that we will be the only living things in it. But I think for a government who spent the last, what was Roswell in like 45 or 42 or something like that, who spent the last part about 80 years trying to convince us that none of this stuff was real, to all of a sudden, they're falling over themselves to say, well, actually, it's real after all, and here are all these different sightings. It's an opportunity for them to institute some new policy. Now, I'm not exactly sure about Blue Beam. I haven't heard of that. But, what has come out of this so far? The Space Force, which is what? The ability to militarize space, right? You create a new U.S. Department Defense organization, and you can now prepare to militarize space. So all this stuff, in my mind, it points to there being some other ulterior motive by the people in charge to implement some type of policy, either that would even like I said, it's Chinese. So are these drones flying all the way from China somewhere covertly to the east coast of the United States? You know what I'm saying? Like there are too many questions that would be asked, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to say that I know them all, or that I'm incapable of being convinced of a different perspective. But if we are to believe that we have the strongest military in the world, why would we ever consider allowing foreign objects to fly in our airspace, and not shoot them down? You know what I'm saying? So, I think they even asked somebody in the FBI about it. The FBI was investigating it. And he was saying he didn't understand or he didn't know. And so, like I said, they know everything, or at least that's what they would have us believe. They can listen to our phone calls, our emails, our text messages. You know what I'm saying? They can look at what we look at online. You know what I'm saying? They can see everything. When you talk about something, how many times have you opened up your phone and opened up the Google app and they have sent you ads for what you were talking about, or you have found video recommendations for things you have been talking about? And you mean to tell me you don't know what this is flying in our airspace? So, I'm
Oh yeah, it's getting very Patriot Act 2.0-ish, getting those vibes. All right, Pastor Green, your thoughts on these mystery drones? Are they really mysteries at all?
Well, I really think it's typical of the Biden administration. And what I say typical of the Biden administration, you can't get a straight answer on nothing. And it seems that's appropriate how he's going to leave his administration with mystery. But I do believe, and I saw a report that said that these drones are looking for a dirty bomb, something of a nuclear substance. I
Mm,
do believe that's what's happening right now. But again, they don't want to alert the general public to it. But last week they did have a confidential briefing to all the lawmakers. So they know what's going on. It's just we as the public, as always, we're the last to know. But I do believe they're looking for some type of dirty bomb.
hmm
I do believe that. And obviously they feel it's here already because they said a lot of those excess weapons, when the Russian Empire fell that were in Ukraine, they said some of that material got here to America.
mm.
And I believe that's what those drones are what they're looking for. But again, they don't want to be straightforward with the American people.
And on top of that, too, Pastor Green, and great point. Like, it's just kind of reflective of this whole administration. Obviously, we've had, border issues and other different, issues with national security prior to the Biden administration. But even back to Afghanistan withdrawal, that botched withdrawal, and we had all types of Afghan nationals and other people coming in, some of them unvetted. They came in through Europe and then the southern border in the past 3 years. We don't know whether through the Chinese nationals, we don't know whether or not some of these drones were snuck in through backpacks across the border. We got to get forced to take a vaccine and get shot at, jabbed every which way. But then you got people coming in, no TB tests, no COVID test or vaccination status. So who knows what has already been smuggled over here that can be a component or accessory to what they're doing right now. Maybe it is a program and they're spying for they're looking for this dirty nuke or whatever. But you know, these drones is not the first invasion. We had a border invasion the past 3 years. Well, God knows how many security breaches or just ways we're just left wide open. So these drones just another, excuse my French, another uh, item to the shitstorm list, if you
Right.
will. So,
And I don't believe these
yeah,
drones. I think the biggest problem with these drones, I don't think the average American citizen should be allowed to have one. Okay, because these drones could be used for devious purposes. All right.
I agree. I agree.
And that's one thing I think this should teach this should teach everyone that listen, you got to cut back on these drones and who can operate them. Because just the way people are being bothered. I mean, they said these drones are the sizes of SUVs. Okay, so these are pretty big drones. But we know they're looking for something.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like we kind of need tighter regulation while at the same time, like, I don't want us to end up having a U.S. Department of Drone Airspace, along with
Hmm.
Space Force. So it's like a weird, delicate balance we need to kind of keep in mind because, Conspiracy Brother brought up a good point. Is this going to usher in more power? What I do respect about the new Doge department with Elon and Vivek over there is that they put a timeline to say, hey, by I think July 4th, 2026, our agency is going to be phased out. We're going to go in and do what we need to do. And we've had like a thousand some agencies created since the founding of America. That's one agency created, uh, more than one agency created every year since the beginning of of America or whatever. So I think what we have to do is keep a fine balance between this national security, obviously with the border. There's some potential militarized methods that are going to be utilized with mass deportation. I don't know if real ID or facial recognition, they're going to offer more powers to that. And can those powers be kept in check so it doesn't spill over to the rest of us? So same thing with these drone regulations. Because yeah, I mean, obviously people need to be put in check if they're going to get a drone and do God knows what. But yeah, we just gotta. There's just a fine line between the national security and then making sure we're not giving away more freedom. All right, cool. Next topic, y'all. This one, I don't know. I mean, Pastor Green, it's a little more like a local since we're both here in Detroit area. But I wanted to, I guess, conspiracy brother, get your take real quick on Mary Sheffield. I don't know if you know a whole lot about her, Detroit City Council. but she's in the running for mayor, Detroit mayor, along with like 7, 8 other people. Since so I'd like to get your thoughts. Being a resident in Detroit, um, and if you know much about it or what your thoughts on her. I know she's the daughter of I think is it Congressman Sheffield. He was a congressman for a number of years. He owns a bit of real estate around uh, the cities. He's really tight with Mayor Mike Dugan.
Her dad,
Um,
pastor, Reverend Horace Sheffield. I don't know if he was
oh,
ever a member of
Horace.
Congress. Yeah, Horace might have been a pastor. See, I'm not 100%. Um, yeah, he's a pastor. He's a
Okay.
pastor, and he does I think he does a TV show or something. He used to do like a local TV, like a TV, like a Christian TV, and he might
Mhm.
have run for office, or he might have. Let's see. You can keep going, but I'll see.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And once again, I need to do more research on it. 'Cause I've just always heard the name over the years, but obviously she's been kind of like groomed. She's been in city council for a while now. She came up under Mayor Mike Dugan, and once again, Pastor Green, just a little bit of context. Mayor Mike Dugan, he's been the mayor of Detroit since 2013. So he's conveniently decided not to seek reelection like 1 week after Trump wins, and there's been a lot of
Mm-hmm.
talk we had about certain shady corruption going on in the city, whether it's they're not wanting to remove voter rolls, whether it's certain funds going where they're not supposed to be going, and then a lot of residents are calling for a forensic audit, and there's people we talked about, Pastor Lorenzo Sewell and other people who are looking to open up the investigation on this stuff. So she's kind of in that mix. She's like been like kind of working underneath Mayor Mike Dugan. I think these past 2 terms or 2 or 3 terms, forgot. So I guess my question is, it looks like, I mean, I don't know enough about her. I guess we need to kind of do more research, but I don't know. I mean, do you think she's gonna, is it wise? I think it's not, to try and run on like identity politics where she's like, I'm gonna be the first female and kind of just do the Kamala card. Do you think she might try and do that, or you think she might have, her camp might have enough sense to say, okay, Dugan kind of sees the writing on the wall. He's trying to run as an independent for governor. Maybe we should kind of lay off of the Kamala identity politics. I feel like it's going to be too sweet to pass up. Like city's first female mayor, and the Democrats about to make all the same mistakes over again. So I don't know. I just want to kind of throw that question out there, conspiracy brother. If you think they might
Well,
have to go for that card, even though it's probably not going to be a good idea. You know.
well, I think she could win.
Mhm.
I don't know if it'll just be a completely identity politics thing. She's a fairly popular city councilwoman,
Mhm.
and so I think that could really benefit her. She's well connected. She's the mayor pro tem
Mhm.
of the city council, or the president pro tem of the city council. So I'd say she's probably as well suited to politically. I'm saying nothing of her actual policies or anything. I think she could potentially win
Mhm.
off of name
Yeah, she
recognition.
could.
A lot of people
She
do
could.
like her.
Mhm.
A lot of people like her. I probably need to do a bit more research. She does seem to be open to some things. I know she's uh, involved somewhat in the Detroit reparations task force. So she is, and I've seen and heard of her trying to do some other things in the community, but I'm not convinced that any of that would necessarily point to her being a good candidate in my eyes, as far as anybody who could do anything substantially to change the trajectory of the city. But I think
Mhm.
she could win, and I don't think
Mhm.
she would necessarily need to lean into identity politics so much. I think she's got enough of a record within the city uh, name and face with her father's, and her own career that I think she could win just off of that alone, you know. So
Yeah. All right. So we'll just have to, stay tuned. Once again, just put certain things on the radar. You never know. You might hear more about her. Just kind of how Gretchen Whitmer, she got her time in the spotlight. She sort of came up during the initial COVID lockdown. She was locking down Michigan hard. And next thing you know, Trump's like that woman from Michigan. So of course, Whitmer kind of used that to sort of build her own name. That was like that was basically Whitmer's like Hillary, but her emails. You know, so Whitmer weaponized that. She came up a little bit on that. So I just want to kind of throw that out there. Stay tuned. You may be seeing more Sheffield. She's definitely a recognizable name, and hopefully, as we do more digging, we'll see whether she was the real deal as far as like what she can actually do for the city, or she's part of the Detroit swamp. You know. All right, I'm gonna just leave it at that.
oh,
What I'm gonna be nice.
she's probably uh, pretty swampy.
Pretty, yeah, pretty in the swamp. She got some skeletons. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right,
You probably can't get anywhere in this city without it, and most cities, to be fair.
facts, facts. All right, cool. All right, next, guys, we got once again, you guys are watching Uncomfy Truths. Feel free to subscribe to us on Rumble as well as YouTube, and we're also on Odysee. So definitely make sure to subscribe to us. You can also subscribe to a Look Underneath with Conspiracy Brother YouTube channel, and then myself, Conservative Brother Daily. I'm also on YouTube and Rumble as well. All right, y'all. Next topic, we got the Lake and Riley trial verdict. I thought this was definitely worth mentioning. This came out about 4 weeks ago, but the man, the illegal migrant who was accused and charged with the murder of Lake and Riley, sentenced to life in prison. So I think a lot of people feel some type of way. Some people like, yeah, go ahead and deport him, but they could deport him back to his country. You never know. They might just let him back over to do what he wants, and may run back over here. Then he's basically sentenced to life in prison on the taxpayer's dime. So at the same time, when you do that, like people know that he was a rapist in prison. I mean, Pastor Green, you were a corrections officer, so he's definitely going to get what's coming to him, and he's going to have to live with that. Live on a hell on earth in an American prison in a country that he snuck over to. So it could be a bit of poetic justice, even though it's on the taxpayer's dime. So I know you guys are pretty well versed in the Lake and Riley story. So once again, conspiracy brother, I'd like to get your initial thoughts on this verdict. Conspiracy brother.
Yeah. Say
Oh,
that last part again. Sorry.
oh yeah, yeah. I was just getting everybody just some insight on the Lake and Riley. A little
Oh,
refresher on the case of legal migrant who chased down this Georgia student while she was jogging. She struggled for like 20 minutes. He beat her, raped her, killed her. And then this recent verdict where he ended up getting sentenced to life in prison.
well, look at
So
the New York
yeah.
Times. Look at the New York Times headline for this.
In
Migrant
case,
gets life sentence for killing Lake and Riley in case seized on by Trump.
what's Trump got to do? That's that TDS. What does Trump
Was
got to
was
do with this? What's
but
Trump
that's
got
the
to do? Got to do
that's
with
the
it?
problem. For
Wow.
so many people, and this is why,
Wow.
a lot of people can't take Democrats serious
Uh,
because they want to take observable, factual situations and
and
create a political context that on its face appears to try to nullify the severity. You know what
mm,
I'm saying?
yeah. I had literally a person I talk, kind of a liberal person, and I'm just talking about this Lake and Riley. Why, I talk hearing it on CNN and MSNBC. I'm like, this is a legal migrant crime that happened, and she's like, well, that's just crime. There's always going to be crime, and that's just their justification. if it was if
Right.
Laker Riley was a black woman, and I've talked about this, how soon until an illegal migrant ends up killing a black person, and then the media covers it up because they're the protected class, then they might wake up, but still continue. I just wanted to, you know.
Well, and so that's the thing, right? It's I don't know, like the expression is what, the racism of low expectations. So I don't know if this is an example of that. I don't know if it's well-meaning liberals or white people or whatever trying to create a more racially contextualized world. I don't know. It's weird to me, though, just like I said about the Aurora, Colorado situation, where Trump said, hey, they're taking over this town. And then I believe it was Martha Raddatz
Yep.
said, well, the mayor said it's not really happening. It wasn't every apartment or something like that. And it's like, what are we actually, do you want to disagree with Trump or Republicans so much that you are at least implying that what he's saying is wrong? And I don't mean wrong as in inaccurate or incorrect, but wrong morally. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Because no matter what, this individual was the one who murdered the Lake and Riley, right? And we can, I think you could basically 100% say, if he wasn't in this country, she wouldn't have been murdered. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because he did it. And so, you know, whether this is an example, like it amounts to arguing facts, basically, where you are arguing facts. It may be inconvenient, you know, and we've talked about how I don't believe there's an inconvenient truth, but
Uncomfy
it may be
truths.
inconvenient, right?
Uncomfy truths.
But at the end of it all, undoubtedly, if you allow an influx of people to come into this country unvetted from third world countries, potentially, you know, violent criminals, you run the risk of this happening. You just run the risk of this happening. And so, you know, this is unfortunate, but it is not really inconceivable. You know, you've had such a high increase over these last 4 years of people crossing the border illegally and unvetted, completely unvetted, that, again, as I'm saying, we talked about what is the point. You know, we've talked about this in previous episodes. Is there some kind of ulterior motive? Is there something behind it? We've talked about how, you know, you saw, I think it was Dick Durbin said something like, who was a senator from Illinois, said something like, we should be authorizing people who come to this country illegally that they could join the military and gain citizenship. You see in Illinois where they're allowing non-citizens to be police officers and all these other things. So is this, as has been theorized, is this the opportunity for the elites to create a military or police force who won't have the connections to the American people, to the American way of life, to the American constitutional protections, and who will violate them because they don't know what they even are? Right?
They don't know
because
or
you
don't
have
care.
seen, right? You have seen not only is it illegal immigrants, right, an influx of illegal immigrants, but they are all like military age single men. Why are you importing military age single? I mean, that's like the lowest on the totem pole when you look at historical immigration trends. You know, you look at, unless there was, you know, early in the founding of this country and various industrial or agricultural or labor related situations, you still were mostly taking families over just military-aged single men. That still wasn't a common thing to do. And so a lot of this stuff appears to fly in the face of what we would consider to be the norm. And it makes it, it definitely has more questions that you have to ask. And as conspiracy brother, I can't help but just always think that there's something going on in the background that they don't want us to see or ask or notice.
Oh, couldn't have put it any better. Pastor Green, your take on the Lake and Riley trial? Justice was served from the looks of it, but there's going to be life in an American prison on the taxpayer's dime. What are your thoughts, Pastor Green?
Well, I think this individual should be put in prison for the rest of his life. But one thing I could tell you, that poetic justice in prison don't happen, because he's a low life, and a lot of these guys that's in prison right now, they're low life themselves. So, a pot can't call a kettle black, if you know what I mean.
Gotcha.
So that that poetic justice stuff, no, because these guys aren't in prison because they don't pay child support. They're in prison because they belong there. And you think, and one thing we have to realize, a lot of males that's in prison are in there because of some form of domestic violence, where they actually killed their spouses, they actually killed their children. So, but the thing I think should happen, I think Trump should implement it, and I doubt he will, but I think what needs to be implemented is there need to be a 3-year ban on all new immigration until we get this all sorted out here in America. What do I mean? We need to get every illegal out of this country. We really do. And I don't care if it's 15 million or 33 million who are here illegally. They all need to go back. We just can't keep playing around. We've been playing with this situation for like the last 20 years. And the first thing they talk about, oh, well, there's too many to deport, so we might as well just give them all, amnesty. No. We need to find out who's here illegally and start deporting them. And I think the government needs to have a quota as to how many they're going to target a year. I think they should try to get at least 10 million per year out of this country. And I don't want to hear this nonsense about DACA. If your mother and father weren't citizens and you just happen to come here with them, you go back too. Okay? You hear the Democrats talk about, oh, well, we're going to be separating families. Well, the family shouldn't have came here in the first place.
They'll come, like Tom Homan said, well, we don't have to separate them. They can go back together.
All family, keep it in the family.
Keep it in
them all together. Keep it in the family.
Well,
you all go back.
This is the thing. I even, if I have 3 kids, I have a wife. If I drive drunk, I'm going to jail. My kids aren't coming with me. Nobody's going to say, well, he's a dad. He's got kids. He's
Absolutely.
got a wife. We're just going to let him stay home. I'm going to jail. I'm going to prison. You know what I'm saying? Let me kill somebody. Let me do something. Here you have this law here. There's a show here called Detroit Black and White. It's on YouTube. And about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was watching it, and the new police chief was on it, newish. And somebody asked if he was going to help with the ICE deportations under the Trump administration, and the chief said something like, "Well, we're not a deportation agency. We don't work for ICE. So, if they break the law, if they commit a crime, then we'll do that. But, and I said, how do you get to pick and choose when you follow federal law? I said this in the comments. How do you get to pick and choose when you follow federal law? Either they're breaking a law and they're committing a crime, or they're not. And this is the issue. They want to try to act like crossing the border illegally is not a crime. That is a crime. It is I went to Canada. I went to Canada yesterday with my family and my father. We drove to Canada, right across the bridge from Detroit to Windsor, right? I had to have my passport. They had to ask me questions. I had to pay my money. All my kids had to have their passports. And I'm an American citizen. I remember when you could go to Canada with a birth certificate.
A black and white photocopy birth certificate. Come
Right.
on. I remember those days too, brother.
A birth certificate. You didn't need anything else but a birth certificate. Right? My
Not even
parents,
original
if
copy.
you had a license.
Not even
if you had a
original copy.
license. Right. And so, this idea that isn't a crime in and of itself. But then, I said, well, and somebody in the comment section was responding to me trying to pick up for the police chief. They said, well, I don't think you understand the separation of powers between state and federal. And I said, I understand the separation of powers, but I want to know if the police chief would give you, as an American citizen, that same courtesy. If you were breaking a federal law, but not a state or local law, would the police chief not give you a hard time about it?
Nope.
You see what I'm saying?
It will
because they
definitely
want to pick and choose. And so the police chief, if I ever find a video, I'll send it to you so you can see. It was kind of toward the end of the show. But then he tried to clean it up and say,
yeah. But there's another devious plot behind all of this, because the first thing that needs to be done, these people, these illegals, need to be taken off the census. They're actually counted on the census. And the reason for that is because depending on what state they're in, this means more congressional seats. This is why New York has so many. This is why Chicago, because see, this is all planned by the United States government. This all comes down to the replacement theory. I don't know if everyone even remember when Biden was president-elect and he had that Zoom conference with, different so-called black leaders like Al Sharpton, the head of the NAACP and all. And, I remember his words. He was saying, y'all better get ready to work with the Hispanic population because they're going to have the greatest numbers in this country.
He warned us.
You see?
He told us.
Yeah. So, this is all planned. And, what really gets me with black people when they talk about, oh, well, Trump is going to violate our voting rights. Voting rights they're not, when they talk about voting rights now, they're not talking about black people. They're talking about these illegals. They want to give these illegals the right to vote. And it seems like black people are so brainwashed. I mean, when you consider how 91% of black women voted for Kamala Harris and 78% of black men voted for Kamala Harris, I mean, where's your logic? So you rather go over a cliff like a bunch of lemons to support Kamala Harris, but yet you can't buy groceries, you can't afford gas, but you're just going to keep this cycle up for another 4 years. So this whole thing with immigration, and I know an easy way you can stop it, and here's how. All you got to do is build 2 detention facilities on the border. Each one can hold 1,000 people. One facility holds 1,000 men. One facility holds 1,000 women. So as soon as they sneak across their court, they go right there and right back.
Yep, it's catch and deport. So
catch and deport.
No more catch and release, catch and deport.
No more catch and release, because this is crazy how, and then when you have these so-called governors and mayors saying they're going to stand 10 toes down and not work with Homeland Security. That's treason. To me, that is treason.
That's a great point, Pastor Green, because it's kind of like, where do we get as a country where it's openly acceptable, at least the Democrats think it's openly acceptable to say, oh, Gavin Newsom, I'm going to Trump-proof California. What if Biden came in 2020, how many Republican governors were out here saying, oh, we're going to, Ron DeSantis, we're going to Biden-proof Florida, we're going to Kamala-proof. There was none of that. There comes a point where even when we had evidence of this 2020 election foolery, there came a point where we were like, you know what? Even Ron DeSantis called out Kamala, who was trying to politicize. he didn't return my call when I asked for hurricane aid. He was like, you know what? I've worked with Biden the past 3 years on all these hurricanes. We worked together, bipartisan, to get the aid I needed. You never once called me, Kamala, in the whole 3 years. Even Ron DeSantis had a little grace to say, hey, I can work with the administration. He wasn't fighting Biden the last three. We're going to Biden-proof Florida. But the Democrats, they just have the audacity to just, there's no like, let bygones be bygones. Okay, they're the president, work with them. But this open, blatant, like Democrats safeguarding democracy and these whole, it's an insurrection among itself. These governors who are like, we're going to openly Trump-proof and defy, this administration. It's just unbelievable. Just the blatancy. Like the mask is off. The mask is
These
off.
Democrats
Yeah.
are lunatics. They really
Right.
are.
Yeah.
They're lunatics. I mean, the fact
Yeah.
that the word, okay, the term illegal alien is they're criminals. The moment they cross into this country illegally, they are criminals. When have we ever advocated to harbor or hide criminals? The Democratic Party has to be voted out. Everywhere you have Democrats in office, people with sense, people who are faithful patriots need to just vote them out.
Yeah. And for those watching at home, illegal is the definition is when you're not abiding by the law. So I think some people forgot that.
Exactly.
All right. So conspiracy brother, you still got a hard stop. We don't want to keep you too long. You got to get going.
I can stay on. I can stay on for a little longer.
Okay, cool. We got this next topic coming up. So basically, when we've since you got to end up leaving soon, we just leave the studio after you're gone, and it's gonna like what? It'll just end the show by itself. Or how would that
No,
work?
you just let me know, and I can still do it in the background, but I just won't be able to be here. So I
Okay,
can
cool.
still.
You want me to shoot you a private chat
Yeah, you can do that.
okay, or the group
Yep.
me or the private chat on here?
Well, you can do the group me. When I leave, you can send a group me or text me and let me know when you want to end it, and I'll end it.
Okay, cool. Just a heads up. All right, cool. All right, y'all. Next topic. Time Magazine names Trump Person of the Year. I almost kind of want to. I'm kind of tempted to play the video of it because you could see like the guy. He was either like the editor in chief or whatever. As he's introducing him, you could just tell like in his voice, like the hesitation, just I can't believe this is happening. Like I was calling Trump Hitler and a fascist a few weeks ago, and now we had to politically play ball. So I don't know. I might pull up the video, y'all, in case you guys haven't seen it. But it's like his acceptance speech for the Time Person of the Year. This is very poetic, coming after like Time Magazine's 2020 expose of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. What a what a beautiful 180, if I must say so myself. Talk about owning the media. But I think it might be fun. Let's. I'm gonna pull that clip up actually. Let me do that real quick. Trump. Has anybody seen that yet?
I haven't.
Okay, because it's just priceless. As the guy is like calling him up, and it's like he can barely even say the words. So let me unplug my. See if I can find the actual video. Oh, look
Well,
at
this
that
whole
face.
thing with the media having to kiss the ring, that shows there is a
Yeah.
God, because these people were so hell bent on keeping Trump out of the White House, and they were so confident that they could do it with all the lawfare. Now look,
I just
you
want to
see,
make sure I find the actual video. It's like maybe if I put in like ceremony, I want to see the actual clip where the guy's about to bring him up. Okay, I think this is probably it. All right. Let's see. Let me know if you guys can hear it. Wait for these. Hold on. I know this is it.
Can't hear it. You got it
Oh, y'all
muted
got
on
it
your end.
muted. I'm just seeing
Yeah.
if This isn't it. This is like a some compilation video. Okay, this might be it right here. Let's see. Apologies if I can't find it, but I think. Hold on. I think you guys just need to see this guy's face, as he can barely stomach saying the words. Hold on. I put in full speech. It's worth it, trust me. All right. Okay. Okay, C-SPAN, this might be it. All right, y'all, hold on. I gotta play it from the beginning. All right. Yeah. Right side broadcasting network. Okay, all right. We'll just settle for this one. Okay. Here we go.
So, as I do some, the president and we're going to serve in this administration would join us on the stage.
All right, so this is the guy. This is where he can't really stomach as he's saying it. So here we go.
So,
you guys hear it? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
As I do some, the president and both those of you who are going to serve in this administration would join us on the stage and stand behind him while he makes some remarks. With that, let me call to the stage the 45th president of the United States, 47th president-elect, person of the year from Time, Donald J. Trump.
He sounded kind of hurt. He sounded kind of hurt.
He is. They all are.
All right, I mean, some horrible Photoshop. All right. Okay, so all right, now I'm just gonna play like the first 2 minutes. I want you guys to just see that guy's face where he couldn't even believe what he was introducing. So here we go. I'll play like the first 2 minutes.
Along with us, they're going to do a beautiful job for you for the next 4 years, and it's really been something very special. And I have to say, Time Magazine getting this honor for the second time. I think I like it better this time, actually. But we did a good job. We had a great first term, despite a lot of turmoil caused unnecessarily. But the media's tamed down a little bit. They're liking us much better now, I think. If they don't, we'll have to just take them on again, and we don't want to do that. But I do want to thank Time Magazine. I've been on the cover many times. I don't know who has the record, but I can only probably talk well about 25% of the covers. 25% are great. The others I just sort of hide. But it's been an honor, and every time it's an honor, I will tell you. And thank you very much for doing it. And thank the whole group at Time. Really very professional people. Thank you. To Jeff and all of the people from the New York Stock Exchange. He knows how much I like it because many years ago I bought a building across the street. I wasn't going to buy it. Then I said, it's right next to the New York Stock Exchange. I'm going to buy it. We've had great success. 40 Wall Street. We've had tremendous success with it. But you've really had success with the New York Stock Exchange. It's an incredible group of people. And Jeff, you have done an incredible job, you and your group. And what a beautiful speech you made. Thank you very much. I was some introduction of all of us. But we've...
all right, got another ad break. All right, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of share that real quick and just kind of go around the horn real quick. how sweet is it? At least a 180. Once again, I'm not like Trump worshiping right now, but at the same time, I am relishing a little bit. You know, they've done this to RFK Jr., they've done this to Cornel West or Tulsi Gabbard. Any other person, if they put through the same amount of hell as they did Trump, and they went from 2020, the secret shadow campaign to save the 2020 election, to now you're handing that same person you vowed to vanquish the 2024 person of the year. I just want to kind of get everyone's thoughts. So, conspiracy brother, real quick, what are your thoughts on this? This 180, just owning Time Magazine.
Well, it's kind of like you said, it's kind of like a poetic justice kind of thing because they spent so much time really going after him. It kind of makes it, even if you aren't a Trump fan, it makes it nice. It makes it fun to be able to enjoy it because it's like a Schadenfreude, because they have really tried to go at him in so many ways. And the big thing for me, it was always just so disingenuous, right? You complain about him doing things that your favorite politician is doing, or things that they're doing that are way worse than anything that he's even contemplated doing. So it really it shows the kinds of people we're dealing with, how they don't really have any principles or any real moral convictions. They really are just partisan hacks. And so I like it. I like it for that, at least, even if I don't necessarily put a lot of stock in some of this stuff. I do think a lot of these kind of instances where the mainstream media has to eat crow, for me, I like it. If it's all you can get out of them is that, I like that.
All right. Fair enough. Pastor Green, your thoughts on this Trump really owning Time Magazine, or a flex, if you will, very 180. Yeah.
Well, there's an old saying that we all should remember: "He who laughs last, laughs best," and that's what we're seeing right now. But I think it's just the beginning, and this leads me to just to think about how that expression, how the rats are jumping the ship, and now you see Biden trying to come up with all these pardons. I mean, if he pardons Anthony Fauci, I believe all hell's going to break out in this country. Because let's face it, a pardon is supposed to be for something that a crime that was actually committed, and you're giving the person forgiveness for that crime. That's what a pardon is. So when I hear all this nonsense about these pardons coming up, I know I'm getting off the subject a little bit, but you look at all the people now, the Liz Cheney, Anthony Fauci, and all these others who are looking to have these preemptive pardons done. It just shows you how God's word comes true. What you do in the dark, God will bring to the light. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing evil people being exposed. And I just pray and I just hope it will be justice that these people go to jail. I mean, the things they were accusing Trump of doing, they were actually doing themselves. You look at Hunter Biden. How did he get pardoned for the past 10 years? I mean, this is just like, you seeing the hypocrisy. And I pray that Trump, with the people he's appointing and putting in office, Kash Patel for one, I had the privilege of meeting with and sitting down with when he debuted his movie Government Gangsters. Oh, he's for real. He's for real.
Yeah, he the real deal Holyfield. About to shake it up.
And it's going to be a reckoning. It's going to be a day of reckoning in this country. I pray that Trump goes through everything he wants to do because it needs to happen. These people need to go to jail, especially someone like Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci. You know, the truth, if the truth be told, these two conspired to kill millions of people, and they did it. Okay? So you're
Mhm.
talking about two people, and Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci. They shouldn't just be tried in the court of law. They should face a military tribunal because these
Mhm.
people should be shot.
It should be Nuremberg 2.0 trials.
They should be shot. They should be shot. And it needs to happen. And
Right.
it's
But we're
not
not
revenge.
condoning. We're
It's
not condoning
justice.
any direct violence on any individual. We are talking about justice being served and treason. Just for any of the
No,
listeners.
it's not retribution. It's
Yeah,
justice.
it's
You
justice.
commit a
Exactly.
crime,
Yeah.
then the
Mhm.
penalty should equal the crime. If
Exactly.
you're responsible for killing millions of people, then you should forfeit your life. Because one thing, see, people always try to say, "Oh, the death penalty." No. God instituted the death penalty.
Yeah.
God instituted that. Okay, you don't want to die, don't kill nobody. Plain and simple as that. But these people,
I love it.
these people, I mean,
We gotta get back to basics. Just like in the Middle East, what do they do in the Middle East? You steal something. They cut your hand
cut
off,
your
right?
hand off.
They
Cut
don't
your
want to hear
hand off.
nothing. Just show me the hand. As Robin Harris said, the great late great comic comedian Robin Harris. Just show me the hand you stole it with. Cut your hand off, and it teaches a lesson.
Oh, I remember something else Robin Harris said. He said, the
Man,
person said, I won't do it again. I know you won't do it again. Gotta go,
I
gotta
know.
go.
Sit down. Gotta
You
go.
know?
Gotta go. Yep. Oh.
I mean, I would come out of retirement to pull the switch of some of these people. I kid you not.
Well, I mean, as a correctional officer, you're kind of in that space a little bit, so I
Mm-hmm.
feel right at home. Okay. Let's not get off the, uncomfy truths here, y'all. We're saying it. Let us say it because you're afraid to say it. That's our motto, uncomfy truths, because somebody has to say it. You're afraid to say it, so let us say it for you. All right.
Let the truth be spoken. Amen.
Exactly. All right. So next topic real quick. We got Mike Benz. Mike Benz is a favorite. I've been kind of following a little bit the last couple years. He worked formerly at I think under like both the Obama administration and also basically I'm kind of like butchering his history, but he's worked at several different administrations. And basically, he did this great masterclass on Joe Rogan on the censorship, really the censorship industrial complex. And one of his quotes I actually shared on our group chat on how really they conditioned the people, a lot of the people like, mainly on the left of the establishment, that they try to convince people that democracy is about the consensus of institutions and not the will of the people. The censorship industrial complex. So once again, Pastor Green or Conspiracy Brother, you haven't watched the Joe Rogan episode yet. A lot of it, Conspiracy Brother. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with a lot of the topics. But basically, he gives a great masterclass on the censorship industrial complex, the art of doublespeak, how they established even this department a while back called the Department of Cybersecurity Infrastructure, and how that basically was the back door to start censorship, and how it started really after the 2016 election, and really it ramped up at 2019 at its highest, and then basically Elon coming in buying Twitter was where we first got hope. So I wanted to open up the floor. Anybody that's familiar with Mike Benz or some of his topics, Conspiracy Brother, if you wanted to share real quick, if you still had time.
I have heard of him before, but I don't know a lot about him. But we've talked about this before too. Creating a consensus This is how the elites and the institutions have gained the country, right? Because when you really look and get down to all of this stuff, whether it's law or whatever, especially law, nothing really exists, right? And I've said this before on this show, like all of this stuff exists only in the minds of the people who acknowledge it. So even like you look at the money, and what does it say about our money now? It's backed by the full faith and confidence in the U.S. government, right? It's not gold, it's not silver, it's not any other precious metal or commodity. Even the fact we say it's petroleum, petrodollar, it's not backed by petroleum, but it's through the fact that you have to trade in U.S. dollars to buy petroleum or crude oil that you use U.S. dollars. But none of the, even like this, when you look at a country, what makes a country a country? All it takes, if I'm not mistaken, is that a country who is a part of the treaty of, I think it's the treaty of, I forget, but it's a country recognized by a treaty. I forget if it's not the Treaty of Versailles. It might be the Treaty of Paris. I forget, but it has to acknowledge that you are a country. That's it. If their head of state or something like that acknowledges that you are a country, or they, as a nation, recognize you as a country, you become a country. And so that's it. That's all this stuff is. It's just, it goes on your, so when you hear the media say, like during COVID, oh, wear a mask, everybody wear a mask, everybody get a shot, or like when you would see your favorite YouTuber say, hey, the vaccine is safe and effective. I got COVID even though I got 10 shots, but it could have been worse if I didn't get it. All that does is it creates a consensus. Whether it's true or not, the fact that everybody repeated it made it the fact.
And when you repeat a lie long enough, it becomes the truth in people's heads.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is the consensus supersedes truth, because now it operates on a basis of factual and non-factual. It completely disregards what is true or not. This is now a fact. And the fact isn't false or true, it just is a fact. And this is how they weasel around to obscure the meaning of words. This is why, a man can be a woman, a man can be pregnant, and all this stuff. A woman can have male genitalia or whatever. Because as long as you can control the consensus, you can dictate the terms under which we all live, move, and operate in the world. Right? Because you completely decontextualize everything from what is true. Because now this is a fact. And what you're saying now is a fiction, even if it's true. Because it counters the consensus. So, it's all an evil, wicked game. As far as doublespeak, it's just straight out of 1984.
Yep.
And it's a problem.
2 + 2 is 5. Up is down. Down is up. What I want to do really quick, Pastor Green, I want to play this clip. I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Benz and his work, but let's maybe play part of this clip. And I want to get your thoughts. And then, Conspiracy Brother, before we let you go, I want to get to an article you shared earlier this week on Michigan allowing illegal migrants to conceal carry. Like, what could go wrong? So, so Pastor Green, I'm gonna play. Are you familiar with Mike Benz, Pastor Green?
No, I'm not, but I want to hear him.
Okay, let's see. We can play about maybe half of it. Conspiracy Brother, let me know how you're doing on time, and then I want to get your thoughts, and we can try and get to Conspiracy Brother's last topic. So this is him on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Now, if they want to get rid of us, they can. They were making the argument that they were basically like Citibank after during the 2008-2009 financial crisis, that they were simply a bank that's too big to fail, because now they are so deeply ingrained in the media disinformation beat. They're so deeply ingrained in the private sector interstitials, working with all the trust and safety people at every platform. They're so deeply funded by 12 different U.S. government departments and 50 different U.S. government programs. There's no way to get rid of us, even if you want to. That's what they were stunting on in right before Elon, finished the acquisition of X, and Republicans won the House in 2022. and all this went in reverse. And now you'll see just this week in the news that there's quotes about them wanting to flee the country, and that the whole field is potentially in disarray if Trump does indeed go forward and defund this, because now you're going to have 100 university centers gone. There goes your State Department funding. There goes your NSF funding. And I have a great example of that, by the way, that's pretty eye-opening on our topic of institutions. That's a quick receipt if you're interested.
Sure, yeah.
So
feel free to guide Jamie
yeah,
any way you want.
Yeah, so Jamie, if you go to the Arizona State University Global Security Initiative,
Oh,
I'll
watch
show you
this.
some of this in action a little bit.
Arizona State University Global. Very vague. Like,
Okay.
The website. Go to.
Oh yeah, Google. Yeah, Google Arizona State University Center on Narrative, Disinformation, and Strategic Influence.
Disinformation and strategic what?
Influence. Yeah. Arizona State University Center Narrative. Yes.
Or their website?
Yes. Go to the website. If you pull it up. So this is, if you click on Global Security Initiative, I'm just going to show you an example real quick. Just click on the top thing. This is Global Security Initiative, and then we'll hit the back button in a second. But if you scroll down, so this is Arizona State University. This is basically John McCain University. Now, this is significant because John McCain was the founding president.
Isn't it funny that
of the
in
IRI.
picture, the girl with the mask is wearing it wrong? Her nose is exposed.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it just kind of shows you how fucking stupid all this stuff is.
That's exactly right.
You know, they had to have her wearing a mask still, even in 2024. You go to the website, she's wearing a mask, and she's wearing it wrong. Her nose is exposed. Not only that, it's a surgical mask. It's the dumbest one. The one that provides literally zero protection.
Right. Okay. So
especially with your nose open.
No, that's fantastic. So a few things as background. Arizona State University, its current president, Michael Crow, is now and was since the day it was born in 1999 the chairman of In-Q-Tel. In-Q-Tel is the CIA's venture capital arm. This is literally the CIA's proprietary investments in early stage technology companies. And the head of Arizona State University, its president, is the chairman of In-Q-Tel. It's been for 25 years. Arizona State University has these very deep partnerships with John McCain, who was the senator from Arizona. John McCain, who ran for president against Barack Obama in 2008, before he ran for president in 2008, for 25 years, he was the founder and the president of the IRI, the CIA wing of the Republican Party. And the IRI is the GOP side of the National Endowment for Democracy. That's effectively self-declared CIA cutout. And in fact, Arizona State University has a John McCain Center on Disinformation that works in tandem with this one. But I just wanted to show that you'll see this is technically it's Arizona State University, but you'll see that it is an intelligence program. So if you scroll up for a second, you'll see at the bottom, right? This is a program at Arizona State University that is an intelligence program. Its job is to assist the intelligence community with this work. And if you scroll down, and you can scroll down from here, you'll see the different branches, and then click on the one Narrative, Disinformation, Strategic Influence. Now, this program has a $1.6 million grant from the Pentagon to do censorship work. It has $300,000 in grants from the State Department. It's got another almost $500,000 worth of additional government grants from adjacent U.S. government diplomatic statecraft intelligence. So this is a multi-million-dollar censorship center, currently still up and running at Arizona State University, funded by us. Now, if you click on why is disinformation dangerous, I want to show you something real quick, because this language is everywhere. This is stock standard language. Why do we have this set up? Disinformation sows confusion and distrust, diminishing people's faith and confidence in the institutions that are critical to a functioning, healthy democracy, such as government, news media, and science. I'm going to pause right there. The dirty tricks that this is laden with is what allows them to get away with this. So note that they are saying that they have set up this apparatus, and I can show you the different projects they're involved with on the censorship side. But the issue they're saying is not that something's wrong, but that the simple act of diminishing public faith and confidence in the news media, government, and science is an attack on democracy. This is the identical language that dozens of university centers and both of the major censorship programs at the National Science Foundation, as well as at state, USAID, Pentagon, they all have this stock language now, which is that the purpose of the program is to protect their assets. And legacy news media is one of those assets. If you on social media undermine public faith in the New York Times as a credible institution, you are attacking democracy in the white blood cells of the blob. These disinformation centers being run out of our NGOs and universities and for-profit private sector censorship mercenary firms will scan and ban you off the internet. And I can show you what some of those look like as well, these dynamic disinformation dashboards. But even if you just go to the projects page, for that, I think if you scroll down, you'll see it. Yeah, so these are Semantic Information Defender. So
this is right out of 1984.
Yeah. So just if you scroll down,
just the terms. Okay. Semantic Information Defender.
Okay. This project, again, this is 1.6 million just from the Pentagon alone. This project will develop a system that detects, characterizes, and attributes misinformation and disinformation, whether image, video, audio, or text. ASU provides content and narrative analysis, text detection and characterization methods, and a large data set of disinformation, manipulated objects. So this is a database of all images, videos, audio, text that effectively the ghost of John McCain, the founder of the CIA side of the GOP after Reagan reoriented the IC around the NGO complex.
I found out why.
And they've been caught basically conflating anything that's.
Oh yeah. What was that? Conspiracy Brothers?
So my wife just alerted me that our stream is shut down on YouTube.
Really?
So, yeah. So you can continue.
Oh, I guess. Okay. All right. It's only a few seconds left.
Yeah, I thought I'd share the good news. So.
Oh yeah, we're on the list. We're on somebody's list. All right. Or maybe we just broke a fair use violation. All right, I'm gonna finish the rest of this.
It could have been anything.
And going after rank and file right-wing populists and conservatives, because that's who the Never Trump side of the GOP, the Mitt Romney, John McCain side of the GOP is trying to take out. Mitt Romney, by
so like a fire hose. So Pastor Green, apparently our YouTube got cut off, but Pastor Green, I'd like to get your initial thoughts on the
arthritis pain. Given a new lease on life.
Initial thoughts on the Mike Benz's take on this military industrial complex. Pretty scary stuff.
Well, we've been seeing evidence of this for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've had videos I've made that have been taken down by YouTube, at least 4 of them. And when you think about, if you look at YouTube right now, all right, when you say the term sexual assault or rape, they'll bleep that out. How ridiculous is that? You can't tell the truth on nothing on these platforms. And this is what I'm hoping now that Trump is back in office, is that they'll hold these social media outlets responsible for the censorship, because it is censorship and it's blatant. The fact that, we just got knocked off of YouTube, it's not surprising to me. It's not surprising at all. And I believe there's a bill to Article 230 that holds these companies liable for what they put on or what they dismiss. They need to hold these media outlets accountable, because see, these media outlets, they control the narrative and they tell you what they want you to hear and how they want you to think. They're so, and they've been effective. You see black people still wearing masks on their face. Come on.
Oh yeah.
It's just ridiculous. And And then when you
Looks like
speak
the stream
against,
is back up.
yeah, and when
Okay.
you speak against the nonsense, I mean, anybody that's wearing a mask now is brainwashed, and that's what the overall purpose is, to brainwash the masses, and they have been effective in doing so. I mean, just talking to people who are on the left, they're brainwashed. So this stuff works. This stuff works,
Mm-hmm.
and we got to bring it to an end.
Yeah. So yeah, just want to give shout out to Mike Benz, who's been doing a lot of good work. So it's good to see him get a little bit a lot bigger exposure with on the Joe Rogan show. So Conspiracy Brother, really quick, your thoughts, and I want to see if I can get your last opinion on the Michigan illegal migrant concealed carry law before you go. But any thoughts on Mike Benz for get to the next topic?
But yeah, so this is even like I was watching Jimmy Dore and he talked about it with Kurt. But like you see these kind of situations happen with like Stanford especially and UC Berkeley. So a lot of those schools in the Bay Area have contracts with the Department of Defense. And they have those because for whatever reason, the U.S. military has decided that like the San Francisco Bay Area is a great place to test communication technology. Like the first telegraph was, if I'm not mistaken, was done there. Or if it wasn't the first telegraph, it was the first ship to land telegraph. Morse code was like all these kind of technological things that the military funded and used were done in the Bay Area. Because I looked it up one day, like, why, how did Stanford and how did the Bay Area kind of become Silicon Valley? Like, where did they become a hub for technology? And you see that with a lot of the, big institutions around the country that have, something that I guess you would consider prestige. They have contracts with the intelligence agencies. They have some kind of in with the government. So they all push some type of government line, and the government gives them money to do what they're doing. It's the same thing I said about even in the movie industry. You look at like why Marvel movies do better than DC movies, even though the DC characters are more well known than like Thor and Iron Man, and because the military is used in Marvel movies.
Yeah, they have a Hollywood CIA liaison office where they go through all the scripts, and they got to be pre-approved.
Right, and so I think that's the reason why you find that those movies had more success. And so this is not a surprise, right? It may be more of a surprise that Arizona State, a school that you don't necessarily think is very prestigious. Like people always joke about Arizona State being kind of like party schools or whatever. But this is not at all surprising to me that you would have these institutions embedded within universities who are engaged in financial or covert financial investments and things like that, because that's simply what happens. The CIA is engaged in all types of activities, foreign and domestic, that undermine, sovereignty and liberty of people. And so, this is an example of just one example of them, that is being released or discussed. And, like I said, the stream is back up on YouTube. So who knows why it ever got suspended? Who knows why it got unsuspended? Maybe this is a Trump effect already taking place because YouTube understands maybe this is more of a problem for them long term if they have a record of violating the free speech rights of American citizens under this new administration. Who knows, right? Because I went back and looked at the stream a little bit on my phone and I saw where it went out, and then I continued to watch and I saw where it came back on. So yeah, I mean, this is why we need to be diligent, right? Because a lot of these organizations and a lot of these people, so you look at, like we were talking about Bill Gates earlier, these people are picked. Mark Zuckerberg and even, Larry Page with Google. Google was picked. Google was a CIA, if I'm not mistaken, Google was like a CIA organized company. where they wanted to do what they did in order to like catalog the internet in a more easily locatable way. And so they allowed Larry Page was somehow intimately involved in the process of Google becoming what it is. I mean, the CIA was intimately involved in Google becoming what it is. So you find all these institutions have connections to the intelligence state or the deep state in some way. And we do need to be mindful of that. We need to be mindful of who's pushing what narrative, because years ago, you would have people who were, me and my wife were just talking about this. You'd have these agencies would infiltrate social movements. They would infiltrate organizations with spies or double agents or whatever you want to call it. But now what they do, just like Mike Benz was talking about with the consensus and all this stuff, is they make sure they institutionalize everybody from the start. So they don't need to infiltrate your organization. You are going to be a part of their organization from a very young age. You'll be institutionalized to think how they want you to think, to learn how they want you to learn, to repeat whatever conspiracy, and when I say conspiracy, I mean government conspiracy, elite conspiracy that they'd like you to believe or repeat. And by the time you get out of college and graduate, you'll be fully invested in whatever conspiracy propaganda that they would like you to believe.
Yeah,
and they don't have to worry about you later. Right.
Yeah,
they don't have to worry about
your degree in NPC studies. Got your little NPC shit ready to go.
And it becomes a perpetuating cycle of self-governance and self-indoctrination or re-indoctrination. Just like you said about the masks and the vaccines. These are all different ways that you can see. Like we talked about, me and you, I consider like mask at this point like an idiot test. What won't you accept? When will it ever be enough for you to say no, thank you? And a lot of people haven't got to that point, and they never will.
It started with the whole there's more than two genders. When they condition you that no, you can be a man decide to be a woman, or a woman decide to be a man. There's like 20 different genders. As soon as people accepted that, and they were beat into submission into that, everything else, it's like, yes, I can accept other things or be told other things. If you can't even recognize the fundamentals of man and a woman, everything else just falls into place. That's where they got us. That's where they got a lot of people. Well, you can't even recognize that fundamental truth of man and woman. But still, continue. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you look about, Katanya Brown Jackson, right? When she was going to be when she was being interviewed for the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And Marsha Blackburn asked her what a woman was or something to that effect. And she responded, I don't know, I'm not a biologist. We live in a world where that is considered a virtuous or smart or thoughtful answer.
Conspiracy brother, is that a dog or a cat? Is that a dog or a cat?
Right. I'm not a veterinarian. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a zoologist. Right. And so this is the indoctrination I'm talking about. She went to Yale or whatever, Harvard or whatever. And these institutions essentially train you to think like an idiot, right? And it's an idiot to me and the average American and the average working person, because we live in a world of clearly defined rules and constraints. But when you are institutionalized to the elite society of a world that literally bends to your will under all circumstances, and words and laws are only limitations insofar as you aren't able to manipulate them in your mind sufficiently, then that's an adequate answer for you. I don't know, a woman who is essentially interviewing to be on the Supreme Court, the highest court in the United States, says, I don't know what a woman is. I'm not a biologist. How can you be qualified to make any decision on anything in life if you can't tell me what a woman is? And you're a woman.
And
How
she
can
actually committed perjury with that answer. That should have disqualified her. You don't
I
know
don't
what a
even know
woman
if they.
is.
Facts.
She
Well,
gonna
yeah,
say
I
she
don't
don't know
even
what a
know.
woman is, and her daughter sitting right behind her.
Well, I don't even know
Yep.
if they. I don't even know if they do anything with perjury, because it seems like you see people lie blatantly so often that I don't even know if perjury is even a crime anymore. You know.
It's a crime to whoever they want to, whoever they want to
Right.
charge you to.
Right.
It's selective.
crime
It's a
if you're-
selective crime now.
It's a crime if you're not a Democrat. If you're a
Right.
Democrat,
You can lie all day.
Right.
Because that was perjury what she said, and that should eliminate her.
Well, yeah, and so that's the thing. You look at that, you sit down and you think about it, and you wonder, what is the world that you live in? That this is where we are. But again, when you look at, like we talked about before, like Mike Benz, the whole idea of a consensus, it transcends true and false, right? Because it deals with the facts. And so the fact is that everybody during the 1920, late 1920, 2021, 2022 told you if you got vaccinated, you wouldn't get sick, you wouldn't pass it, you couldn't contract it, you couldn't get seriously sick, you couldn't die, and all these other things that have proven up to this point to be false. But the consensus said that all this other stuff was fact. And so even today, MSNBC, CNN, or whoever posted articles or videos or news or any other media saying these things that we know categorically to be false today, they're still able to put their videos up. They're not being taken down. Their channels do not have strikes. Their streams are not interrupted for policy violations, and everything is fine. This is
Because it's
the
not
world
true.
we live in.
It's the accepted consensus. It's
Right.
not
It's not
factual
true
truth.
or false.
It's the accepted
This
consensus.
is the fact. This is the fact. It's not true or false. This is the fact. It's the fact because the NIH said it, because the CDC said it, the president said it, the vice president said it, the director of infectious diseases and allergies and whatever said it. You see what I'm saying? Everybody, the Cleveland Clinic said it, the Harvard Medical School dean said it, blah, 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 blah. Down the list has said this is the facts. And so whether it's true or false is irrelevant. Because the consensus, you are subverting consensus by having a brain. You are subverting consensus by speaking the truth.
How dare you? That isn't
like
elite approved.
Just like the story of the emperor's new clothes, right? The whole, everybody in the town and the emperor and everybody saw that he was naked. But it took a small little child in the audience to have the courage or the ignorance to tell the truth.
And that's why they're going after the minds of children.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You see? So we could definitely say that we're experiencing, would you say we're experiencing communism instead of democracy?
It's getting there.
We already experienced the communism because communists tell you what you ought to be told and what you ought to obey, rather than democracy tells you what you should believe and what you should think about. They're telling us what to think, and they're telling us what we have to believe. So we already are at a communist state, and we got to restore democracy, especially in the social media.
It's an authoritarian, neocon, neoliberal communism state that we're in. And I know there's been some, I know we're kind of getting off topic, but I encourage everybody here to watch the documentary. I shared this in the group chat before, Agenda, Grinding America Down. And then that came out in 2010. And then Agenda 2, that came out like 2012, 2013 by filmmaker Curtis Bowers. And he literally broke down as far as like pushing perversion, pornography, sexual deviance in schools, pushing just once again. Oh, here it is. I got it here. Eliminate. Here's like one of their goal, like one of their many communist goals. Eliminate prayer in school. So I'm gonna repeat some of these and tell me if this is something that's been going on the past 10 years and what side of the political spectrum agendas has been pushing this the most. This is straight from like a communist playbook, from communist books. Point one: eliminate prayer in schools on the grounds that it violates the principle of separation of church and state. Another point two: discredit the family as an institution, encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. Point number three: get control of the schools, use them as transmission belts for socialism, soften the curriculum, get control of teachers' associations. Point four: eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech and free press. Um, Point five: present homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. Point five: infiltrate the press, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, motion pictures. And then finally, there's a lot more of them, but last point: infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion, discredit the Bible. These are a few of the points of like 20 points from that documentary, which shouldn't be a partisan issue, shouldn't be about Republican or Democrat. And you got to ask yourself the points I just mentioned, which political party or at least what political spectrum is pushing those points? Because these are all multi-hundred-year-old playbooks from communism. So I'm just gonna put that there. Sorry to get off topic, but check out.
But that's an interesting point you made, because everything you said, I
It's
know
happening.
who wrote that. That's in the congressional record.
Yeah.
So it's already been accepted.
That has been pushed the last 10, 20 years. And once again, I don't want to get too off topic. Even that KGB Soviet agent had that interview in the early 80s saying we're going to infiltrate the U.S. without firing a shot. We're going to infiltrate it through the schools, starting in the 20s. Yeah. All right. But anyway, but yeah, great. Anything else, Conspiracy Brother, you wanted to add to that? The Mike Benz censorship. I think you kind of hit on everything.
I think, yeah.
All right, cool. So next topic. I know Conspiracy Brother, you shared this one. This was news to me. I haven't had a chance. I think I'll read the first couple paragraphs just to kind of give us some context. So this is from the Detroit News, George Hunter, Detroit News. Critics: Michigan plan to give immigrants driver's licenses allows concealed carry permits. What could go wrong? A package of bills that would permit people who are in the United States illegally to obtain state driver's license in Michigan would also allow them to get concealed pistol license. Critics said if they lied about their immigration status during the application. Well, let's keep their fingers crossed and maybe they'll tell the truth. Of course, they wouldn't lie on an application. And of course, they're not going to even look into that and see if it's true. The Drive Safe, Safety, Access, Freedom, and Economy bill package, House Bill 4410 through 4412 and Senate Bill 265 through 267, was introduced last year in both the Democratic-controlled state House and Senate. And a similar package of bills was initiated in both chambers, then controlled by Republicans in 2021, but didn't move beyond committee hearings. Immigration rights groups have been lobbying for the legislation, including holding a Tuesday rally at the Michigan Capitol to urge the passage of the bills or the proposals in a lame duck session before Republicans take power next year in the House. If passed, the measure would allow non-U.S. citizens to obtain Michigan driver's license regardless of their immigration status or U.S. citizenship. The bill will also prohibit the Secretary of State office, Ms. Jocelyn Benson, a corrupt quack, all from sharing information about those applicants with federal immigration authorities. Legislation proponents said giving more legislation proponents said giving more immigrants the ability to drive legally would curb traffic accident incidents that are often caused by people who flee because they don't have driver's licenses. Critics contended the changes would curtail protections against identity theft that were put in place in response to September 11, 2001 terror attacks after many of the terrorists were found to have used fake IDs to help carry out the plot. Now, I'm going to stop there. Now, Conspiracy Brother, before you go, I will acknowledge how they're trying to say, oh, let's give more immigrants the ability to drive, to curb traffic accidents. Yet these same people have no vetting process for illegal migrants coming over, whether they're Haitians, whether they're from Venezuela. Those migrants coming through, not only are they not vetted on whether they are criminals or not, they're not vetted to take driver's license, to take driver's tests. We don't know their driver capability. They could come over here, get a hold of a vehicle, and we've been seeing cases of illegal migrants getting in car accidents, killing people through not being able to drive right. The Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, there's been cases of them driving on the wrong side of the road, getting in accidents. So it's funny how they're trying to say, oh, this is going to help curb traffic accidents, when it seems like at this point they're just going to give them a license. They're not about to take them through driver's school. They're not going to have them take a driver competency test because the same illegal migrants coming over aren't even getting vetted to show their driver competency. So I find that very, very hilarious. But Conspiracy Brother, you go right ahead and give us your thoughts on this shit show waiting to happen.
I think the thing that's not being talked about the most is that they'll probably be able to vote by having this driver's license, because you don't even need a license or any identification to vote in Michigan at all.
That's the hack.
You just sign an affidavit. Yep. But again, like we talked about with the Daniel Pitty situation, look at this. This is going to reduce crime because you give them driver's licenses, and so they won't flee after accidents. How does this address an accident at all? Right? That's the issue. The issue is that you're having an accident. Right? The issue is not the hit and run, even. It's the hit. Even if you stayed there until the police showed up, you have still caused an accident. Not even acknowledging the severity of the accident. But on the second part, if a person is going to hit and run, does it matter if the police are going to arrest you for being illegal or not? Does that matter? Right? Is that going to be the thing that stops you from running away? That, oh, I'm legal now, so I'll just have to potentially, I had a friend. He lives in Atlanta now, or right outside of Atlanta. And years ago, he got hit on his motorcycle by an illegal immigrant in Georgia. This was years ago, like 2014, 2013. And he's a nice guy. And so he's a real nice guy. And so
let him go.
Well, he followed the guy home and let the guy pay him like cash for the vehicle instead of, I think the guy was asleep behind the wheel, or I can't remember if he said the guy had been drinking or what. And the guy gave him a little bit of money to pay for his motorcycle. And then he stopped answering the phone, or he stopped responding to, and I told him, I said, so you should have called the police. And he said, oh, well, he's illegal. I didn't want to, they were begging me and his wife and his kids. But see, this is the thing.
You drink the Kool-Aid, bro.
It's not your problem. Well, it wasn't that. He's just really a nice guy, and he was trying to be nice. He really, I don't think he was thinking about that stuff at all. Because it was 2013. I don't even think that was really in the public consciousness so much, because Obama deported a lot of people. But that's not your problem. If somebody hits in the back of you and they've been asleep or drunk driving or whatever, and they're illegal, guess what? Either You got to give me like $10,000-$20,000, and then I'll leave you alone. Otherwise, you got to go. You got to go. I mean, it has to be enough that I can get either get a new vehicle or get my vehicle fixed. It's got to be a burden for you because you have committed a crime. You have endangered my life and potentially the life of everybody else who's on the road because you do not make good choices. And that's ultimately at the bottom of this situation, right? But so the ability to carry concealed weapons is a problem. But the ability to vote is a problem. The ability to access services is a problem. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're not legally allowed to be in this country, you don't need a license. You do not need a license. In most countries, most first world countries, there's a reciprocal process. Like when I went to Canada, they didn't say, hey, you got to get an Ontario license to drive over here. I got a Michigan license. I'm on the border. I live right in America. My license is valid here. Y'all licenses are valid here. And so it works out. But when you come from countries where the road rules aren't the same, or the driving rules aren't the same, then you have those differences where there may not be reciprocal driving license etiquette, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then we have a problem. So then you need to be trained how to drive. Can you read the road signs? Can you read what they mean? Can you read in English before we allow you to be behind these 1,000-pound vehicles? Because if the only question or the only thought is, well, you know, if they all have licenses, they won't run when they hit into somebody, I think we're missing the point. I think we're severely missing the point.
Yeah, that's missing. They way off the ball. And just the audacity to think how many people would believe that lie. Like, oh, we'll be less accidents. They won't run away. I'm just insulting everybody's intelligence.
And like Pastor Green said earlier, even about the voting rights situation, they always try to put these, they always try to link these immigrant laws and bills for American Black people because they want to try to appeal to, you know, a humanity or a shared, not a shared history, but a shared
intersectionality,
oppression.
Intersectionality, they call it. Yeah.
And that isn't the case. That is not the case. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you should not be voting. If you're not a U.S. citizen and you don't have a valid driver's license in the country you come from, you should not be driving a car here. You don't get a license. I don't go to when I went to Japan, I didn't go get a license. When I went to Europe, I didn't go get a license. If you're an illegal immigrant, your life should be difficult. It should be untenable so that you leave.
Amen.
And this is not, you know, people, oh, you're being rude. This is that's the law. If I go to Mexico illegally, I'm going to live on the margins. Perfect example. I'm a perfect example.
And also, we can't just walk over to Mexico. We can't just walk across the Canadian border. Like, oh, I'm seeking asylum. Hard times in the U.S.
But here's Giannis Antetokounmpo, the basketball player, was born in Greece. His parents were Nigerian, and he grew up. They lived in like a 1-bedroom apartment, and he would sell watches on the street with his parents. He didn't get Greek citizenship until he was 18, 19, or 20. And that's the only country he'd ever lived in. Because in most countries, you don't just get citizenship because you live here, even if you're born there. Right? This is the way you treat an illegal immigrant. You are a marginal member of society. You're a freeloader. You're a guest.
Amen.
You're here based on the grace of the people who control things in this country. But you don't get to dictate terms.
An inconvenient.
You're essentially right. You're an inconvenience at best. No matter what kind of contribution you think you can make, you're a backseat driver. And when you're a backseat driver, the best thing you can do is be quiet and enjoy the ride.
That's true.
Well put. All right, Pastor Green, your thoughts on maybe you may have seen something like this maybe coming to Pennsylvania soon, or just in general. This is just absurd. But
well, actually, I seen this. If you remember, the hijackers that committed the atrocities of 9/11, okay, they were surveyed by the FBI for a couple of years. And what happened was Janet Reno, who was the attorney general at that time, she stopped all surveillance of these men. And her reason was saying that we are violating their civil liberties. You don't have civil liberties in this country if you're not a citizen.
They were all non-citizens, right?
None of them were citizens of this country. And when the surveillance stopped, we saw what happened. You know, we saw what happened with the Twin Towers. And, you know, I served at Ground Zero for 2 months. And Ground Zero and 9/11 was something that could have been avoided. So what I'm saying overall is all these terms that we're allowing these illegals with the help of the Democratic Party to just play the system. First of all, you know, if you're seeking asylum, that means your life is in danger, or you're facing war. Last time I checked, there's no more wars in South America. You know, you don't have these civil wars going on. So where's your life in danger at? When they come here, they say asylum, but they wanna seek employment. It's not America's job to provide employment and opportunity for non-citizens. And that just needs to be stated. You know, just like it was said, citizenship is a privilege. It's not a right. And I think one thing that has to happen, all these so-called migrant organizations, they need to be disbanded. You don't have no right to be here if you're not here legally, if you're here legally. So all this alien rights groups and all this nonsense, all that stuff needs to be abandoned. Because you cannot go to any other country and demand free housing, free healthcare, free
unfortunately,
money.
Unfortunately, it's being funded by a lot of bad actors, even in our own government. A lot of these big corporations that they get incentivized by destabilizing countries, by getting a lot of migrants over here to work those jobs, to work the jobs in the field they claim that other American citizens don't want to work, and they're incentivized. They get all this money through left-wing causes to fund these NGOs, and they're dropping pamphlets on how to get here and what to say. It's so deep-rooted, the amount of shadow money and a lot of these far-left organizations, the George Soroses of the world, is really hard to just say he needs to go away. I mean, Trump can do a little bit, can fight towards it, fight against it, but I just don't know how he can get around defunding. A lot of that is like third-party left-wing causes is funding it. You know, it needs to be get rid of, but it's just so systemic. You know,
we just need to enforce our immigration laws because listen, we don't need people coming over here to pick oranges. All right, that's that lie they keep talking about. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Nobody won't do those jobs. No, the people will do those jobs. American people will do those jobs.
We used to do the jobs until they brought the label over here, and they worsen the labor conditions, they worsen the pay, and then like Conspiracy Brother, we talked about this a few episodes ago, where it forces out like legal Latino Americans that would have done it, legal Black Americans that would have worked those jobs, and you force these conditions to where, yeah, people will come over here and work under all types of conditions, from the third party world. So yeah, you're definitely right about that. Yeah.
And it needs to stop. I mean, we just need to say enough is enough with all this
Yeah.
with all this illegal immigration. It needs to stop. And when people talk about, oh, we're all immigrants. Well, you know what? I'm not an
No,
immigrant.
we're not.
I'm not an immigrant. My parents, my forebears came here since the 1500s. Okay, so I'm not an immigrant.
Well,
My forebears are brought here.
Well, real BS is like they're really the protected class, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
the trans community, LGBTQ. I'm not talking about just normal gay folks just want to get left alone. They ain't trying to mess with nobody's kid. I'm talking about like the really extreme trans, LGBTQ, and then the legal migrants. They want protected class. They want special privilege. They don't want like to be treated like everybody else. Come over here and it's equal opportunity. If you go through the right way, you go through the visa process, if you go through the citizenship classes, the vetting, I'm all for it. If you come over here legally and do it the right way, I'm all for your equal opportunity at the American dream, not to come over here and I get equal entitlement and I get all this stuff handed to me. But if you come over here the right way legally and you go ahead and you build a business for your family and you did it all legally, I'm all
More
for it.
power to you. More
All
power to you.
power to you. I need to level up, but yeah, it's all stemmed from this. It became equal opportunity of migrants to come over here to, they're a protected class. You can't talk about them. You can't. They're untouchable. How dare you talk about this group of people? And it becomes their entitled protected class. And that's what we became. And we became second, like American born citizens have became the second class citizens. And we're treated shitty and a lot worse than illegal migrants.
No, we are. We are. And the thing that's been done wrong, we just been focusing on the Latinos. No, whoever you are, I don't care if you speak Spanish or Swahili.
Oh yeah, the Haitians.
If you're
Yeah,
here,
if you here illegally, any country, Swahili,
you got to go.
Samoans,
You go back.
You go back.
You go back.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And another thing, and I'm gonna close on this. It don't even matter how long you lived here. If you lived here 30, 40 years and you never got your citizenship squared away, that just means you just been a leech on this country for that amount of years, and you should be deported too.
I can't entirely disagree with that, because even if you came over here illegally 10, 20 years ago, you eventually maybe saved up some money. You were maybe hiding off the grid the first few years. Maybe you decided, let me go ahead and go to the office and do what I got to do. They might deport me. Hey, they might put me on a back taxes payment plan. So, I'll start going through the process. I can respect that. If you came over illegally, you decided, let me go through the legal process. But that's rarely the case. It's always, oh, we just came over here and we've been hiding here ever since.
Exactly. That's what they
our
do.
kids and our grandkids got birthright citizenship. Trump about to kill all that. I know this is kind of harsh. This is a really uncomfortable truth.
But it's not even harsh.
To talk about, but it's hard. It's necessary.
Yes, I don't think it's harsh. It's necessary because you see it's a loophole.
We've been pussyfooting and just being very like and be all understanding and all give an inch and they'll take a mile, and hey, it's time to pay up. Time to pay up. The rent is due.
Exactly.
Yep.
And you know what? If you can't pay the rent, you know what happens? You get evicted. So if you can't pay the rent, you get evicted out this country.
Yeah, and the COVID moratorium, that's long gone. That's old news. That's 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't more of that. All right. Okay, y'all. Once again, guys, you're watching Uncomfy Truths. Please subscribe to us on Rumble. We're on YouTube as well as Odysee. I personally have a hard stop in about 10 minutes at 10 o'clock Eastern. So I actually got two more. We might have time maybe for one more. I got the FBI, I think, finally admitted to having assets of January 6th. So see what comes up when I put this in. Now here go all these trying to deny it. No FBI agents, but 26 informants. So what we all knew almost 2-3 years ago is now starting to come to light. I love Rep. Thomas Massey. Basically, the FBI finally fesses up saying we had informants in the crowd, and these could have been civilian informants and assets. Obviously, they weren't all full-fledged agents, but they finally spilled the tea. Even after Christopher Wray, I remember testifying and saying, like, oh, we can't answer that. So it's finally done. The whole Ray Epps led insurrection. And now lo and behold, we find out we have these undercover FBI assets, over 20 of them. I think they were saying that were in the crowd with January 6th, but I'm guessing it's probably more than that. So anybody go ahead. Obviously, January 6th has been debunked to death, but finally the FBI fesses up. So conspiracy brother.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah,
we'll probably just end it here. Probably end it at this topic.
Okay. I think it was pretty obvious from the onset that there was some type of government intrusion. I wish I would have said something about this, but I kind of just, things get away from me. But there was a show I used to call in on. It was on YouTube, and they broadcast in DC. It was on Radio Sputnik, which is, the Russian news station, and they shut it down after they put all those restrictions on Russian media. But I used to call into the show a lot, and somebody in the comments, like January 5th or 4th, said, hey, make sure you tell them that there's going to be a massive, there's going to be a lot of FBI agents and stuff. They're going to have a protest on the 6th, and it might end up being something that big, just tell everybody. And I didn't see the message until later. But the FBI has a history, the CIA as well has a history of planning, orchestrating terrorist activities, funding them and everything, and then they arrest the individuals who partake in it, and they count that towards their, counterterrorism. They have historically even used like people with mental retardation and had them and said, hey, we're going to do some kind of terrorist plot, and even been able to use them and say, see, we caught this terrorist cell or whatever.
Yeah, they'll recruit a couple autism folks too. Throw a couple autism guys in there too.
This is just another example of the government trying to create the conditions to institute more authoritarian policies, right? They limited who could go into to the Capitol. And the Capitol is a building supposedly owned by the people that we can go into and tour whenever it's open because it's ours. You can schedule a meeting with your member, your representative, or your senator to talk to them because they work for us. But this was a way that they could undermine that with the pretext of safety for members of government. Like I showed you that quote from Heinrich, I think his name is Heinrich Heine, the German philosopher and poet, where he said, we should forgive our enemies, but not before they are hanged. In the past, these people, all people, were subject to mob violence, to immediate, immediate feedback from the constituents. I'll put that nicely, right? Even throughout American history, there were politicians who were tarred and feathered, right? And so a part of the institutionalization is they had perpetuated a feeling of hopelessness among the electorate that apart from voting year after year after year, we don't have another form of recourse to enact our will upon the political system, right? So, when you watch the film, even the footage they had that you could see, where you just had people going into the White House, not the White House, sorry, the Capitol building, and they weren't destroying anything. Nobody had any guns. It was all a very fishy situation. You know what I'm saying? It was all extremely fishy when you look at it on its face. But of course, the same way we saw different riots around the country in 2020, where they would inevitably devolve into mass civil unrest, property destruction, and fires and things like that. A lot of those were also orchestrated and infiltrated by FBI. I mean, you could see videos of people saying, "Hey, this guy threw this rock, and he's an agent or he's some undercover police officer." Even in the gangs in the 90s, the Crips and the Bloods had a truce, but the LAPD would dress up like in the colors of the rival gang, and they would kill the other members of the rival gang, and they would violate the truce. You see what I'm saying? So there are various times that they have used double agents and infiltrators, agent provocateurs in order to do what they're doing. Just like here in Michigan, when you had the FBI agents who set up to kidnap the governor, there was like 15 people involved, and 9 or 10 of them were FBI agents. You see what I'm saying?
That's the truth. Yeah.
Imagine that. And also, too,
so,
brother, I know you're on a roll. I wanted to also mention the fact that how funny is it? Damn, I was just thinking about how point I was just about to bring up about I had the point, I lost it. Keep going. I had a point I was going to mention. You keep going.
Yeah.
Come back.
So I mean, just throughout history, and especially even recent memory, the FBI has done these kind of things, and this is the same with when we talk about the drones, right? So I think Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio talked to somebody in the FBI, and they said, "Do you have any agents who are present at January 6th?" And he responded, in the something like, in the name of security or whatever, I can't say. And like he was like, well, the answer should be no. And that's the thing. If you can't say no, the answer is yes. Any equivocation. So it's the same with these drones. If there were a foreign entity, they'd be shot down. Simple as that. They would be shot down. If they were a foreign entity, they'd be shot down. And so that's all you need to know. Whenever you see these kinds of events, they're acknowledging that there were 26, what do they call that? Confidential human sources present. There are probably more. And there's definitely some FBI agents there.
Yeah, this is what we've been saying and talking about. Just no different from even like provocateurs during the 2020 George Floyd riots, except once again it was to their advantage, and they get arrested and then they're bailed out, thanks to Tim Walz's Minnesota fund that he worked with Kamala to do. But it just goes to show you, you still got like over, I think 2,000-3,000 J6 political prisoners rotting in jail for doing something as simply as banging on a window or breaking a window or walking through the halls let in by cops with selfie sticks. And almost 3 years later, these people are still sitting in jail. charged, convicted over if they were at a summer 2020 riot, they'd be bailed out. They'd get little misdemeanors. It's just ridiculous, just the level of hypocrisy and just a level of just just the level of really just corruption on what they were doing, and then obviously this double standard of justice. But Pastor Green, your thoughts on this?
Well, you know, two things stand out in my mind. Well, actually, three things. The first thing was I remember seeing the Capitol Police opening up the barrier gates and ushering people in.
Yep.
You know, and that was like, wait a minute, why are they ushering people in? But they did that. And number two, it's ironic, and I don't even think it was coincidence, but it was planned. Nancy Pelosi's daughter was in the Capitol building that day to film a documentary. So that tells you all of this was orchestrated. And then when you get to that ridiculous January 6th panel, all right, and Kathy Hutchison, that woman Hutchison, made up that lie saying Donald Trump, all of a sudden he turned into Plastic Man, and from the back seat of his limo, he reached and grabbed, go through the plexiglass, go through everybody, and reach the front and started steering. You know what I mean? So while he's steering, who's on the pedals? I mean, the fact that they can introduce that bogus testimony and got away with it up until now. I mean, this whole thing with this January 6th, we know it was orchestrated by the Democratic Party, spearheaded by Nancy Pelosi, who wouldn't even allow the National Guard to be there. So what does that tell us?
Tells us it was a setup. It was just opportunity.
It was orchestrated and planned.
Well, Barack Obama said out of his own words, "Never let a crisis go to waste. Never let opportunity go to waste, wherever it was." But yeah, I mean, there's so much we said. We covered the J6 riot, so many different shows. So once again, we were calling out 2-3 years ago. It's now starting to come to light. But the left-wing outlets, they're going to continue to gaslight and, this isn't happening because they're NPC audience. They just read the headline. Oh, okay. And they go right back to sleep. But yeah, conspiracy brother. Yeah.
The police chief, the police chief of the DC police, or the Metro Police, the chief of the Metro Police on January 6th, I believe she was the acting chief. She was, she was. So he was the chief from January 8th. June 14th, 2019 to January 8th, 2028. He was succeeded by Yogananda Pittman, who was the chief from January 8th to July 22nd as the acting chief of the United States Capitol Police. And she had some kind of weird on January 6th. Let's see. She was the interim head of the U.S. Capitol Police. Mm-hmm. She had, this is from Wikipedia. So the former chief, Stephen Sund, and I don't remember who Tariq Johnson was. She had specific intelligence that there was a planned insurrection at the Capitol at least 2 weeks before January 6th. According to findings in a bipartisan Senate investigation, a series of omissions and miscommunications kept that information from reaching frontline officers. Following the resignation of Stephen Sund in 2021, Pittman became acting chief of the Capitol Police. She was the first woman and first African-American to lead the Capitol Police. On February 15th, 2021, the U.S. Capitol Police Labor Committee The union representing Capitol Police officers voted 92% against Pittman in a vote of no confidence in her leadership. Now, this is the important part that, a lot of people don't know. On December 5th, 2022, the University of California, Berkeley announced that Pittman had assumed the role of chief of the Berkeley Police Department of the University of California Police Department, with her leadership beginning February 1st, 2023. So, Nancy Pelosi probably had a lot of pull over there. She's the long-serving former Speaker of the House from San Francisco. So, all this kind of fits into that, her having extra knowledge and not reporting it, how she dealt with all the questions that were asked after she became, the chief in January 8th. And then you get a cushy job all the way across the country because she was, if I'm not mistaken, she was like born and raised in the DC area. Mm. So I just thought I'd add that extra bit of information to what you all were just saying at the end of that. But even looking, like you said about Cassidy Hutchinson, she testified that she basically testified hearsay. She testified that somebody told her Trump did something to the January 6th committee.
That sounds credible.
They accepted that as a first-person accounting of the situation, right? So so not only did she not witness it, but she testified hearsay. So the same way Biden is weighing potential pardons for Adam Schiff and Cheney and Kinzinger and all these different people, they need to be put in prison. Yeah. And Liz Cheney, she should just be put in prison because her father was an evil torturer. Right. I'd be fine with that. And Adam Kinzinger has some kind of weird complex. But all of them, put them all in, Adam Schiff, put them all in prison because they lied. Right? They lied. But, we'll see how things go. Trump said that he's trying to move forward, but I hope he doesn't move forward too fast. Because like Heinrich Heine said, we should forgive our enemies, but not before they are hanged. And so that's my new motto for life. We should forgive our enemies, but not before they are hanged. And I like that.
Yep, for as a result, sentencing of their crimes, and what goes around comes around. All right, y'all. Great show. Once again, guys, you've been watching Uncomfy Truths. Feel free to subscribe to us on Rumble and YouTube. And yes, it's our last show of the of 2024. Actually, we're going to be reconvened first Sunday of January, I believe. So it's been a great ride. Conspiracy Brother, I think we've been growing the show by leaps and bounds. Obviously, the Kamala Town Hall was a nice little milestone for us. And I think this year, going into next year, we're gonna be looking at strategies to level up, like releasing more content as far as like chopping up parts of our live show and putting in the smaller clips, little bite-sized clips people can watch during the week. So that'll be kind of a goal we're going to try and do next year. But yeah. Anything else anybody wants to add before we close out this last show of 2024? Anybody wants to add anything?
Well, I think 2025 is going to give us a whole lot of content to maintain this podcast. I think 2025 is going to be an amazing year.
Yeah, and I thought 2024 was a gift that kept giving, but man, just one twist and turn after the other. Conspiracy Brother, anything? Any other parting words? Our last episode of 2024 in the bag.
It's been a great journey this year with you and with everybody who watches the show. We appreciate the views, the comments, and the feedback, the shares, the likes, and the subscriptions. And we hope to continue to bring you a fresh perspective, new and novel information in 2025, and we hope to continue to improve the quality of the show and the quality of the enhancements and things going forward. We appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in, and happy 2025.
All right, that's it. That's all. So the clock on the
Merry
wall.
Christmas.
Yeah, and that Merry Christmas, especially for the very secular crowd out there. It gets triggered. Merry Christmas, and a happy holiday, happy New Year. But yeah, Merry Christmas. I'm not saying Xmas anymore.
Amen.
Pastor Green, could you do us the pleasure of closing us out with a prayer? And whoever gets offended,
Absolutely.
too bad.
Absolutely.
Right.
And Father God, we just thank you for this night. And Lord, I just pray that, Lord, you will continue to use us as the voices of reasoning in this country. That, Lord, what we say and what we do, that we will give you glory because, Lord, we are standing for truth and we are standing for your righteousness. And I just pray, Lord, you will continue to give us the ability to do so. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, y'all. Enjoy. Merry Christmas, happy holidays once again. And we will see y'all in the new year, 2025. Have a good evening.
Peace.
Good night.
Peace.